are watching KPIX-5 News at 10.
I want to restate for you the great sorrow and pain that the problem of child abuse has caused me.
An acknowledgement tonight from San Francisco's Archbishop of a serious problem in the Roman Catholic Church. Good evening. For years, the Catholic Church has been accused of sweeping the allegations under the carpet. Tonight, Archbishop John Quinn says he wants it made clear. The Catholic Church knows that sexual abuse has occurred, and he is appealing to victims to come forward. Doug Murphy has more.
The San Francisco Archdiocese was rocked again this week by a lawsuit that alleges 9 boys were molested by California priests, one of them a San Francisco priest. This is the latest in a series of sexual abuse allegations against Catholic priests, and those making the charges say the church did little to protect them. But Archbishop John Quinn tonight tried to make it clear that the church's eyes are wide open.
My heart goes out to anyone who has suffered child abuse by any of our priests, deacons, religious, or lay employees. I reach out to them with compassion and love.
Quinn admitted that the church has learned a great deal on sexual abuse and now has a written policy and requires sensitivity training.
I have mandated that our policy on sexual abuse and harassment be rigidly enforced. We now realize that this illness requires extensive and intensive therapy. Where serious misconduct is established, lay employees will be discharged, and priests, deacons, and religious will be removed from their ministry.
At St. Cecilia's Parish, where one of the accused priests served, parishioners tonight welcomed the Archbishop's words.
Is that everybody should know that it's happening, and I think it's really good that they're admitting it too, because the parents are admitting it and the people that were molested are admitting it, so the priests need to admit it as well.
They should be more open towards, divorce in this day and age, and towards gays and towards what's happening within their own church. I think because they've closed it off, it's getting worse.
The Archbishop wants to be upfront as well, urging anyone who believes that they have been harmed to speak out.
I want to assure anyone who comes forward that they will be treated with both compassion and concern.
And the Archbishop says that includes whatever is needed to heal the wounds. In San Francisco, Doug Murphy, KPIX-5 News.
Not only is the church facing a lawsuit over sexual molestation, the allegations have also led to criminal investigations in San Francisco and Mendocino counties. Kate?
It's now a federal crime to block an abortion clinic, but anti-abortion activists are going to court to try to get the law overturned. President Clinton signed the bill into law today, saying it is a strike against violence and coercion, not the First Amendment. Starting now, anyone who blocks access to an abortion clinic faces as much as 6 months to life in prison and a $250,000 fine. On the same day the president signed the bill, California's Supreme Court issued a related decision. The court upheld a lower court ruling saying it is legal in California to require disruptive protesters to stay across the street from an abortion clinic.
Anti-abortion activists are trying a very different strategy tonight in the Bay Area. They're asking for tax dollars to help teach young people about abstaining from sex altogether. Cheryl Hurd is live in Concord with that story. Cheryl?
Dave, the anti-abortion group is the California Right to Life Committee. Now, the president of that committee was here asking the Mount Diablo Hospital Group for $35,000 in tax dollars to teach an abstinence-only course. Now, there are groups against that request, and we asked everyday people their opinion about the proposal. Tonight, we talked to 3 generations of a Concord family and asked their opinion on how they felt about a proposed high school sex education course teaching abstinence only.
Keeps them from getting all the diseases and dying early and stuff.
So you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You think kids your age will listen?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
The AIDS virus and everything going on, they should not do it, and not only that, morals, I think they should wait.
I feel that in this day and age, abstinence is a little unrealistic. I know from being my age and when I was in high school that not many people were abstinent, and I'd much rather see safe sex being taught.
Any kind of sex, even with protection, it could be life or death,
Camille Giglio, president of the Pleasant Hill-based California Right to Life Committee, thinks it will work. Over the years, she's lobbied hard against abortion, and she thinks abstinence education is the way to go. Giglio is asking the Mount Diablo Hospital District for $35,000 in tax money to fund the course.
We are asking to have access to the nurses here who might be interested in training to recognize sexually transmitted diseases, AIDS, the after effects and the ill effects of unplanned pregnancy.
But abortion rights advocates like Planned Parenthood in Concord are for teaching abstinence for 7th graders, but against an abstinence-only course for high school students.
We believe that any curriculum that teaches abstinence must also teach protection.
The clinic's director of education says 50% of all teenagers nationwide are already sexually active by age 16. She says abstinence only would alienate students from having safe sex.
That you're going to ignore the needs of a great many of the students. You're not going to influence them.
You don't market to distribute condoms and other contraceptives. That is a part and parcel of their program. They wish to facilitate sexual activity for young people or people of any age.
Now, the Mount Diablo Hospital District will hold another meeting on this issue, and they won't decide until next month how they will distribute the money. Reporting live in Concord, I'm Cheryl Hurd. Dave, back to you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Kate?
In a complete reversal of his campaign speeches, President Clinton is giving China the most favored nation trading status. This afternoon, the president said China has made some progress with human rights and trade status should no longer be linked to it.
MFN will avoid isolating China and instead will permit us to engage the Chinese with not only economic contacts, but with cultural, educational, and other contacts, and with a continuing aggressive effort in human rights.
Mr. Clinton did announce a new ban on imports of guns and ammunition from China. Trade between the United States and China totaled slightly more than $40 billion last year, and more than $31 billion of it in Chinese exports to the United States. As expected, the reaction to President Clinton's decision was swift in coming from both sides. Tony Russomanno reports.
The student demonstration in Beijing's Tiananmen Square in 1989 marked the end of China's brief flirtation with democratic change. The demonstration ended with a military crackdown and the imprisonment of tens of thousands across the country. Today, Henry Durr of San Francisco's Chinese for Affirmative Action said President Clinton's decision will mean the dissidents will remain in prison.
There really is no incentive at this time for China to change its course, to respect human rights, and to stop the jailing of religious and political dissidents.
But President Clinton says some progress has been made.
Some important political dissidents have been released. We've gotten information on Tibetan prisoners for the first time. We have a process now with operable deadlines for looking into these disputes over prison labor matters.
The president denied that he is bowing to big business and breaking his own campaign pledge.
And I believe the answer to what we should do is to pursue a broader strategy of engagement. I think that is where we are now, and I think that it is far more likely to produce advances in human rights as well as to support our strategic and economic interests.
But to Henry Durr, the lesson is clear.
If you browbeat the president and Congress enough, they will get cold feet and succumb to the pleas of big business.
China has the world's fastest growing economy and took in $8 billion in U.S. exports last year. Dr. Ramon Myers of Stanford's Hoover Institution says our own economic interest should take priority over human rights, which he believes will steadily improve.
Because the whole society is changing and the Chinese people want it, and I think a good share of the leadership elite also realizes it's to their best interest to have it too.
About a year and a half ago, Levi's announced they would not do business with China because of pervasive violations of human rights. Levi's is following its own corporate guidelines, and today a company spokesman said President Clinton's change of policy would not change Levi's policy towards China. At Stanford, Tony Russomanno, KPIX-5 News.
Another country is taking a major step toward normal relations with the United States. The U.S. and Vietnam have agreed to set up liaison offices in one another's capitals. As that announcement was being made today, protests continued outside a trade seminar in San Francisco. 150 Bay Area business leaders learning about new ventures with Vietnam, but demonstrators opposed the idea.
Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom for Vietnam. Freedom.
The step toward normal diplomatic relations is creating mixed emotions within the local Vietnamese American communities. Robert Honda reports different factions argue whether this is progress or a setback in the fight for human rights.
When President Clinton lifted the trade embargo 3 months ago, the Vietnamese American press questioned what would happen to issues such as alleged human rights violations in Vietnam. Louis Nguyen, a producer for local Vietnamese news programs, says that's even more of a concern now that diplomatic offices will be set up in Washington, D.C. and Hanoi. Nguyen says the new trade relationship will only discourage the Vietnamese government from making any changes.
The people are still suffering. They don't have the freedom of speech, religion, press, and so on and so forth. So it's not worth for making the money, and people still don't have human right there.
Local attorney Minh Do Van points out the Vietnamese American community is fragmented by longtime communist and anti-communist factions, but that today's developments are part of a new reality.
They are also against communism, but perhaps with the opening up of Vietnam, with the trade exchanges, with establishing diplomatic ties, and the fact that Vietnam will be exposed to the Western world, perhaps it'll make an impact on the society in Vietnam, and the people overall in Vietnam will benefit.
As the trade negotiations move forward, the Vietnamese American community will continue to debate over how much this will all affect the people here, as well as their friends and family back home. But the one part of the issue that everyone seems to agree on, the new reality, is inevitable.
It's going to be very, very difficult to turning back.
In San Jose, Robert Honda, KPIX-5 News.
Diplomats say the new offices should be set up and staffed in about 3 weeks.
Well, much of the world will be focused on the Bay Area next month when World Cup soccer gets underway. It's the most watched sporting event in the world, and it could bring the Bay Area $300 million. At least 5 games are going to be played at Stanford Stadium. The Brazilian national team arrived in San Jose this morning amid much fanfare. Len Ramirez was there.
They are delirious, drum-beating, samba-dancing soccer fans. And this morning, more than 100 of them were at the San Jose International Airport to wave their flags and greet the boys from Brazil. The Brazilian national soccer team is here to train for the World Cup, which begins next month at Stanford Stadium. They are favored to win it all, the biggest sporting event on earth. But it's more than just a game. To Brazilians, soccer is a passion, and the players are demigods.
We born in Brazil with a football in our feet, you know, so everybody plays and everybody likes to see.
It works like a drug for the people, you know. People, even if they're poor, they don't have what to eat, but as long as they have soccer, they're gonna have a good time.
Amanhã em San José, na Califórnia.
Dozens of Brazilian journalists are also here, feeding the story back live to a country hungry for soccer news, like where the team is staying. It's Villa Feliz in Los Gatos, but don't try to get a room there. The team has rented it out exclusively for the next month and a half. And Los Gatos is rolling out the welcome mat. Posters are going up in the windows. Menus are being printed in Portuguese. The Los Gatos Coffee Roasting Company has stocked up on the beans from Brazil. The World Cup is expected to pump more than $300 million into the Bay Area economy.
We expect 10 to 15% increase in sales overall. A lot of that's going to be after the games.
As for the fans, this is just the beginning. About 10,000 more are expected to come before it's over. In San Jose, Len Ramirez, KPIX-5 News.
The Brazilian national team will be training at Santa Clara University for the next couple of weeks, and those sessions are open to the public. Brazil's first game in the World Cup is against Russia at Stanford Stadium on June the 20th.
I'm Ken Bastida in Contra Costa County. They work a lot like computer hackers, only these people are interfering with police and fire communications. The story coming up.
A new report says public playgrounds can be a lot of fun, but they can also be dangerous. I'm Manuel Ramos in San Francisco, and that story is coming up.
If you're traveling this weekend, we'll have the complete weekend forecast for the holiday weekend and show you how they're keeping cool in other parts of the country.
Then at 10:45, bird calls will fill the air. Yes, it's that time of year again.
Something that thousands of children use every day can be hazardous to their health. Playgrounds. Consumer advocates say that 9 out of 10 playgrounds have hidden dangers for children. Manuel Ramos went to one playground to check it out.
The main killer and crippler in a playground is height. 75% of all kids hurt in a playground are hurt in falls. But coming in second are swings. They can injure, even strangle a child. The Public Interest Research Group surveyed 443 public playgrounds in 22 states, including California.
You should be concerned enough that the hazards do exist, and they exist in places where you wouldn't think. I think a third of where the injuries happen and actually deaths happen is in strangulation.
The survey said 95% of playgrounds have hidden dangers, like the slats in bars on equipment that could strangle.
Here, the opening is large enough for a child's feet to go through, and it's small enough where the head can get stuck.
Strangulation accounts for some of the 17 deaths a year in playgrounds. 177,000 children go to a playground each year and end up in a hospital emergency room. Parents in parks are alarmed, but not in a panic.
And the park can be dangerous, but so can a home. And again, I just have to keep my eye on him all the time.
Here's what to watch for. If your child likes to climb up high on things, make sure there is a clear place for him to fall, and that there are at least 9 to 12 inches of sand or soft wood chips underneath. On this slide, the cement is too close to the landing area. They say these free swinging metal rings are also dangerous, especially the ones that are about child height. Swings shouldn't be constructed of wood or metal. Kids are always swinging them at each other. A survey showed that 4 of the city's 5 parks in San Francisco had dangerous equipment, but parents are more afraid of closing them.
But for older playgrounds like this, I'd rather have a playground than have it torn down and not have anything, because this one is not considered safe for smaller children.
The consumer groups say they don't want parents to become paranoid about playgrounds, but at the same time they warn that 9 out of the 10 they surveyed are dangerous. In San Francisco, Manuel Ramos, KPIX-5 News.
The emergency radio frequencies in the Bay Area are our invisible lifelines. They provide instantaneous fire, police, and other emergency help when we desperately need it. But there's someone in Contra Costa County, a radio hacker, who thinks those frequencies are just a game. As Ken Bastida explains, the hacker is playing a deadly game that could cost someone their life.
333 Regional, Albertson.
These are police and fire radio frequencies, the kind used to dispatch emergency personnel in a number of cities. In the past year, the FCC says there have been several cases of radio hackers gaining access to these frequencies in Redwood City, San Jose, and now in Contra Costa County.
Well, in this particular case, it affected Contra Costa County and the Richmond Fire District, as well as the American Red Cross. They were all receiving interference.
Somebody has been keying up on emergency radio frequencies and transmitting fake messages, interfering with normal operations.
But if you have a critical situation on the radio and the police department needs to dispatch emergency vehicles, or there's an officer down, or it's a fire and they need to get fire equipment, you get somebody on the radio who's going to cause interference with those transmissions, effectively block the communications, well, then there's a potential for loss of life and property, and it's a very serious matter.
It happened in Virginia last year when a 27-year-old electronics buff gained access to aircraft frequencies, started telling pilots to change course. He was eventually caught and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Radio frequency experts like Les Ettinger say there are people out there with the expertise to illegally access these restricted channels.
There is a lot of garage shop operators and part-time hobbyists and that have the capability of programming the radios up.
Some Bay Area agencies have begun to protect their frequencies with encryption devices and digital coding. But those measures are costly and, according to the FCC, not completely tamper-proof.
There are other techniques that are being employed, going to higher frequencies, who knows, satellite communications. But no matter what radio path you take, someone can always insert themselves in the path.
The FCC has imposed severe penalties for these radio hackers who invade these frequencies illegally. Even first-time offenders can expect a $100,000 fine and a year in federal prison. In Pleasant Hill, Ken Bastida, KPIX-5 News.
Dispatchers in Contra Costa County have been broadcasting a warning to that radio hacker that he or she is violating federal law and when caught will face criminal prosecution.
Police in Mendocino County are investigating a murder-suicide involving 5 people tonight. Police say they found the bodies in the home in the town of Willits, that's north of Ukiah. The victims are believed to be from one family. 3 of them are children. Police say a handgun was found in the family's home. This is the second time in less than a year this sort of tragedy has happened in Willits. Last August, 5 members of one family died in a murder-suicide.
Still ahead, the Silicon Valley executive who's trying to get Republicans to choose him over Governor Wilson.
The photograph that cost a senior White House official his job today.
And the mural's gone, but the controversy is still hot at San Francisco State.
40,000 or so. Oh yeah, they said that the last people who brought to Israel the word Ethiopia, here the sign of racism. You degraded the sign.
Would you like me to bring the court?
It's rare in American politics that an incumbent agrees to debate an opponent from the same party, but that's exactly what Governor Wilson is going to do tomorrow. The governor has agreed to debate Ron Unz, his opponent in the Republican primary, on KABC radio in Los Angeles. Are you asking who is Ron Unz? Wendy Hanamura has a profile.
After attending first grade here, Ron Unz has returned, a Republican candidate and high-tech millionaire. His message for this Los Angeles public school sounds like a page from his own life.
Money in your family is not the most important thing. The most important thing is studying hard and doing well in school. And if you study hard and do well in school, all of you can become successful in our society.
A school teacher's son, Unz was a scientific whiz kid, studying physics at Harvard, Cambridge, and later here at Stanford. At 26, he was writing computer software for Wall Street, selling it to banks for millions. His Silicon Valley firm now racks up 7-digit profits.
I really think the state needs somebody to come at things with a different, fresh face.
So this 32-year-old, who has never held public office, is now challenging incumbent Pete Wilson for governor, pouring his own money into this $1 million media campaign, attacking Wilson's record.
As mobs of criminals burned and looted my native city for days, that's leadership.
Who are your political heroes?
Ronald Reagan, I think, was one of the finest presidents we've ever had. He won the Cold War. He destroyed the most evil empire the world has ever known.
Sound familiar? So does the candidate's pledge to slash taxes and social welfare programs. But that message is resonating with young Republicans and conservatives. In the latest field poll, 30% support Unz over Wilson.
Unz has deported himself quite well, and he has gathered some of that support in. Has certainly spent some money in the past few weeks to do that. But I think most of that vote, and the large majority, is just a protest vote against the incumbent governor.
We asked the candidate how he would handle the 3 top issues identified by an exclusive KPIX poll of people in the Bay Area. On preventing juvenile crime,
families on welfare contribute the vast majority of the juvenile criminals in our society. But we have to attack the root causes of crime. And the root cause of crime is our current social welfare system.
On creating more jobs,
cut taxes, cut regulation, cut the size of government, and eliminate fraudulent programs like workers' comp. And that would revive the California economy.
As for improving schools, Unz says get back to basics. His old elementary school is now bilingual, but not if Unz becomes governor.
I would eliminate affirmative action. I would eliminate bilingual education. I would eliminate all of the ethnic separatism policies we have in our society and return ourselves to the notion of a common American culture.
Sound radical? Well, this political longshot says only a radical overhaul can make California better for these kids. Wendy Hanamura, KPIX-5 News.
Unz says if elected, he'll work only for $1 a year to prove that service is his only motive.
And when we come back, we'll go live to San Jose, where the City Council has just picked a new member.
Also ahead, why Bob Barker says no more hanky-panky for him.
And the word must be getting around in whale circles. Another one is in the Bay.
You're watching Dave McElhatton and Kate Kelly.
The controversial Malcolm X mural at San Francisco State is gone. As police in riot gear stood by, a work crew removed the mural with power sanders. By tonight, the wall where the mural was painted was papered with slogans, and the debate raged on.
That's why the star.
For students with a particular skin color.
That's why that star with that blood running through with the money in it.
You're living off of the wealth stolen from us. That's why. You should apologize.
This is another example of the university having a double standard when it comes to handling problems on campus.
You are certainly not going to use the buildings of this campus to promote your hatred or anybody else's hatred.
The mural included images many in the community considered anti-Semitic, but others say destroying the mural amounted to censorship. And one professor pointed out today the purpose of art is to provoke and to get people to think.
In San Jose tonight, the city council member recalled after making racially charged remarks has been replaced. The new council member is a person with a long-time connection to San Jose politics. Robert Honda is in San Jose now with a live report. Who was the chosen one, Robert?
Well, she's someone that does have a lot of San Jose City Hall connections, as well as connections with our local congressman. We're here inside the Silver Creek High School auditorium, where the San Jose City Council has been conducting its public interviews with the candidates who wanted to replace Kathy Cole, who, as you heard, was recalled earlier. Well, tonight it was the moment of truth. The last of the 13 finalists were interviewed by the council. It was a group that was whittled down from over 50 applicants. The council voted right after the last interview, and in the end, it was Alice Woody who got the necessary 6 votes and the District 8 seat. She has been an aide to 2 council members, as well as Congressman Norm Mineta. Now that it's over, everyone wanted to put the Cole episode behind them.
I think it's important to have fair representation, quality representation on our council from District 8. And I don't necessarily believe it had to be an African-American woman. I think it should be a qualified representative.
I get the sense that everybody wants the whole awful past year to be put behind them, behind us, and to get on with working for better transportation and better schools and more parks and community centers and better library services, and that's what I hope that will happen beginning tonight.
Well, Alice Woody was sworn in immediately and will show up at City Hall tomorrow to start fulfilling the remainder of Kathy Cole's term, which ends in 1996. So the city's first ever recall, as well as the replacement process, is finally over. Now it's time to see whether the Kathy Cole controversy can be put away for good. Reporting live from District 8 in San Jose, Robert Honda. Matt, Kate, back to you.
Thank you, Robert.
An aide to President Clinton is out of a job tonight over what some in Washington were calling Golfgate. The president today announced the resignation of David Watkins, the aide pictured in a Maryland newspaper, using a presidential helicopter for a golf date. The president said taxpayers will be fully reimbursed for the cost. Watkins was director of administration for the president. Clinton says he knew nothing of the trip until he saw the newspaper photo and was, in his words, very upset.
Bob Barker, the host of The Price is Right, says he did have an affair with the show model, but that he didn't harass her. He says the affair was her idea. Barker says Diane Parkinson, a former model on his show, wants $8 million or she'll sue him for harassment. Barker held a news conference today to refute the charges, and he brought some videotape with him.
He told me that I had been so straight-laced that it was time I had some hanky-panky in my life. That was the word she used. And she said that she was going to provide it. And if what I'm going through right now is a part of hanky-panky, I don't want any more of it.
Mr. Barker says you guys just had a consensual relationship.
I can't talk. I really can't. It's not good for me. Please.
Diane Parkinson worked on The Price is Right for 18 years before quitting because of what she called a conflict with other models.
Brian?
Yes?
Hello?
Well, how do you weather that storm?
Well, what we do is we just kind of shift gears very tactfully and just talk about the weather. We're going to do that. We'll get you set up for the complete holiday forecast, and we'll have a little fun, too. See you in a couple minutes.
And after weather, a sure sign of spring.
What's the weather? Brian Sussman has answers.
The winds have been howling since last night, especially in Contra Costa County, at SFO, and around parts of the bay. Well over 40 miles per hour in some cases. They'll calm down overnight. Next, time-lapse of our Bay Area sky tonight. Fog and low clouds getting set to march across the Bay Area with drizzle at the coastline. And in Texas, it's raining water balloons. These school kids got to take friendly revenge on teachers today for the last day of school, and why not? 90 degrees in Houston this afternoon with a relative humidity of 70%. By the way, we'd like to welcome our studio audience. Kids, for all you do, this weathercast is for you. Can't resist an audience, guys. Let's talk about what's happening right now. Again, as I mentioned, fog and low cloudiness at the coast. We saw a good deal of thunderstorms in the Sierra today. We'll see the same thing over the next couple of afternoons. Sierra forecast upcoming. Highs and lows around the Bay Area for tomorrow. We'll continue with temperatures below average for the next couple of days. Don't think we'll see a significant warm-up until we get into the latter part of the holiday weekend. With all that in mind, let's get to the weekend forecast for tonight. Mostly cloudy skies throughout the area. Again, those gusty winds calming down. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies inland, patches of fog remaining at the coastline in some cases all day long. Extended outlook then calls for a significant warm-up as we get into Monday, maybe even an offshore breeze Tuesday and Wednesday, which will really pop those temperatures up. Getaway forecast. Partly cloudy in the wine country this weekend. Monterey Bay, patchy coastal clouds up in the Sierra, scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon. Los Angeles area, mostly sunny skies. And finally, an update on that restored U.S. ship, the Jeremiah O'Brien, which sailed from San Francisco last month to commemorate the 50-year anniversary of the invasion of Normandy, France. Right now, they're anchored in England. Tonight, I spoke to the ship's captain and asked him how the trip's been going.
We haven't had any difficult parts of the trip. I mean, everything's been fine. It's been going along very good.
And how have the British been treating the guys?
Very good, very nice. And they're really helping us in a lot of ways, taking us places and what have you.
And the weather in Europe?
The weather's been rain and cloudy. That's what's spoiling a lot of it, though.
Which, of course, is very similar to when they landed in Normandy. It was miserable weather right up until invasion time. And, of course, one of your friends, the forecaster during that invasion.
That's right, Irving R. Crick from Cal Poly. He had that tiny window. If he had forecasted wrong, you and I would be speaking German tonight.
It was an amazing feat of science what they were able to do.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Dr. Crick.
Right on.
Well, for the third time this month, there's been a whale sighting in the Bay Area. A California gray whale, estimated to be about 18 to 20 feet long, was swimming in the port of Redwood City Marina this afternoon. Experts say they don't know if this is the same whale spotted in Alameda earlier this week or one seen in Petaluma a couple of weeks ago. This time of year, gray whales migrate from Baja California to Alaska.
There's one sure way to tell how fast the years are passing by. It's already time again for the annual Leonard J. Waxdeck Memorial Bird Calling Contest at Piedmont High. It seems like only yesterday we were listening to the student chirping, but it's been a year, and here we go again with the 1994 version.
Next, what does Wayne have to say about the Giants? His final KPIX-5 sports report.
Then we'll let others do the talking about Wayne.
But the best. You've worked hard as an athlete, and you worked hard as a sports commentator. And now it's time for you to play golf and take it easy, enjoy the life at its best. So on behalf of myself, the entire Dodger team, good luck to you, and God bless you, Wayne. You deserve it.
What's up in sports? Here's Wayne Walker with answers.
Well, as I end this 20-year homestand, I hope I can do just as the Giants did today at the end of their 10-game road trip. That is to say, go out a winner. Actually, William Van Landingham came in a winner. The rookie beat San Diego in his first major league start. He had 5 strikeouts and 5 in the 3rd innings. The Giants trailed 1-0 in the 3rd. John Patterson grounds to Luis Lopez. Lopez tries to retire Darren Lewis at 2nd, but the throw is closer to Boise than the bag. Lewis comes around to tie the game. Patterson later scored to make it 2-1. And it's still 2-1 here in the 5th. Matt Williams launches an Andy Bennett's pitch, and you can tell it, and me, for that matter, goodbye, baby. Home run number 18 for Williams. The Giants win it 5-3. Rod Beck worked the 9th and picked up his 9th save. Lance Parrish will remember this day almost as much as I will. He singles home Kevin Young. Pinch running for the aging Leo Gattelli in the 13th inning, and Pittsburgh beats New York 11-10. Parrish, just a boy at nearly 38, had a home run and went 3 for 6. Pittsburgh had 18 hits. Also today, the Reds got 8 in the 2nd and ripped the Rockies. Rain caused the Braves to play till past 1 in the morning before losing to the Astros. The Red Sox roughed up the Indians the day before Cleveland hosts the A's. Billy Hatcher gets one of Boston's 8 doubles in a 13-5 whipping. The Sox, like the Reds, had an 8-run 2nd inning. Boston had 17 hits. And what would a Wayne Walker mini-theme night be without a final look at Tiger Stadium? Bo Jackson homers as part of a 5 RBI game in California's 7-5 win over Detroit. I wish it would have been the Lions 50, the Packers 0. Also today, the Royals beat Rick Honeycutt and the Rangers. As I said, Oakland begins a weekend series in Cleveland. Well, the Knicks last made it to the NBA Finals back in 1973, a year before I came here to KPIX. They may well return to the finals just as I leave the building. New York has taken a 2-0 lead over Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals. Patrick Ewing with a tough basket there. Now this one was tied at 40 all at halftime. Antonio Davis with a baseline move there for Larry Brown's team. Then Ewing took control in the second half. John Starks misses, but Ewing is there for the tip, 1 of his 13 rebounds, 2 of his 32 points. Super sequence here. Ewing swipes the inbounds pass. He leads the break, gets it to Derek Harper. Harper dishes it back to Ewing for the jam. Knicks 89, Pacers 78, Walker 74-94. 2 NBA coaches made news today. Chuck Daly, in an attempt to upstage me, resigned as head man at New Jersey. The media, still amazed at my long tenure, attempted to upstage me by naming Lenny Wilkins of Atlanta as NBA Coach of the Year. Aaron Crickstein, whom I think was a young star by the time I started here in '74, wins this point in the French Open against Michael Stieck. Crickstein now serving sideline, the 2nd seed in straight sets. Other winners today included Ivanisevic, Chang, Vicario, and Conchita Martinez. And I consider myself among a winner today at the French Open.
You bet. Theme night on
I was good again at 11, you know.
That was good. I know, but we're not over yet.
I've been so good these last 2 shows.
I know.
Maybe I really think maybe I should just forget about retiring and get another job.
Oh, you got a party here that's waiting to go, that's for sure. But you can't leave yet, because we have
I'm not leaving.
We have 6 more minutes, I think, before your retirement goes, and we have a lot of your sports friends over the years who are going to bid you adieu.
I'm ready.
It's not going to be the same. Anytime you lose the best, it can never be what it was. You know, it seems like Wayne's been here forever, and anytime you wanted to know what was...
The sand in the old sports hourglass is fast running out. We're coming down to the final minutes of the KPIX-5 version of Wayne's World. After a record-setting 20 years here, this is the final moment. Some of his friends said goodbye to Wayne at 6, a few more on in line now. Their thoughts and a clip or two down memory lane as the 4th quarter clock winds down to 0.
And all the experts are saying that this Georgetown team ranks up there with the great UCLA teams of the past, the USF teams of Bill Russell, and the Kentucky teams of the 40s, Adolph Rupp and those guys, and I'm picking Villanova.
A lot of people don't know that I first knew about Wayne Walker when he played at Idaho. I announced Fresno State sports, and Wayne was playing for Idaho when they played Fresno State. I didn't like him then, and I don't like him now. Actually, that's not true. I didn't know him well enough then to dislike him.
I certainly had hoped to have one more of our stag dinners with Lon Simmons. They were beautiful, artistic affairs that ended up in such a wonderful fashion. But Wayne, I'm going to miss you, and I wish you the very best. All of us think you're the greatest.
I don't know whether you can call the Beta Breakers a track event or even a racing event. It is a serious race, but boy, I'll tell you, you get 13 guys carrying a giant shoe for 7 miles, and they're proud of that fact. That's pretty scary.
Wayne Walker was a guy that I respected very much. He was an outstanding football player, but more importantly, he was an outstanding person. And to find out that he's retiring, geez, I can't believe it. Is he that old now? But Wayne, I want to wish you nothing but the best.
You weren't watching someone that maybe they played a little high school football or something, but here was a great player and still able to become a great broadcaster, and that was always fascinating to me.
It is not true that the Dolphins think they can Tower of London over the 49ers. It is true some Niners had fears that this trip may interrupt their train of thought, and that next week it would be difficult to get untracked.
The first guy that wrote the 1991 A's out of the pennant race was Wayne Walker. And I remember watching that around whatever it was, June or July, when Walt Weiss got hurt and you stood there and says, the A's cannot win without Weiss. I said, that's something we'll show them. Well, it turned out we didn't win without Weiss, and you were very perceptive. So we're going to miss that kind of action. So we'll miss you. Enjoyed every bit of the time we spent together. Have a nice time in Idaho.
I think if you could think of just one word that described Wayne Walker, he was class. Wayne Walker was a man's man. And he was fun, and he was what it's all about. And I'll tell you, it was great when he was here, and it's not going to be the same without him.
That's exactly right. That's the overriding thing you do hear about Wayne from the people who have been associated with him. He is a class act. He works hard and he plays hard. He truly celebrates the joy of living. Whew, some days, he really celebrates the joy of living. And I remember one of those days, but I'd rather forget it. At the risk of stealing from Reader's Digest, he is the most unforgettable character I've ever met. He was superb on the football field, outstanding in television, and he'll be incredible in retirement. Here's to you, Wayne Walker. You made all our lives richer and happier, and we can't begin to thank you enough for that.
Well, you know, Mac, thank you. I can't believe John Madden got that seriously. You know, I'd like to get him to adopt me if he really, if he really feels that way.
That's still an option.
I don't know how much time we have, but, you know, there's some people, you know, I want to thank, in particularly, all the people I've worked with, you guys, you know, Katie and Wendy and Anna and Brian and Joe Bartlett before him, and this wonderful man over here who is a mixture of a rock and a marshmallow, and Wayne Overton out here in front of the cameras, and Artie DeLugich and Steve Kroner, our sports producers, who I don't make it 20 years without those guys. But I think kind of, you know, most of all, it's you people out there that I really want to thank. I want to thank you for your acceptance, and many of you for your friendship. It's been a wonderful 20 years, and couldn't have done it without you. And hell, I'm just going fishing now.
Well, before you go, be sure and mention this crowd over here.
People, all these wonderful people. There they are.
Well, I didn't think I had to. I thought they were making themselves known over there. But some of my family and my best friends and really the lady who makes everything special for me, Sylvia. I love you, hon.
And we'll miss you.
I love you, Mac.